Hello everyone, hope you all are doing great and welcome to this new video series on building a music player using AV Audio Kit. We're going to be using AV Foundation and the AV Kit to build out our own custom music player, and this is basically going to be the music player that we're going to be building. It's a playlist based player, so there are certain learning objectives that we're going to be achieving while building out this. So let's go ahead and talk about those. So we're going to be learning to build a custom music player using AV Audio Player. We're going to be learning how to create how to play music from playlist. We're going to learn how to build a scrubber to basically move fast forward or fast backward, the music or the current song that's playing. We're gonna learn to build custom next and previous song buttons to play the songs from a playlist. We're gonna learn how to build a custom play and pause button, and the entire UI is going to be programmatic. So basically in this, there is no storyboard or zip file that you're going to be using. You're going to be building out the entire UI programmatically, and you're going to also learn how to create like apps that keep the screens from turning off or dimming, so when the music is playing, your user can still interact with the controls and the music, and when you dismiss that view, then you can resume the normal operation of dimming and um, basically turning off the screen, just like it's supposed to. Okay, so there are various different concepts that you're going to pick up while building this app, to basically learn those and apply those in different apps, or maybe a similar app that you might create. Okay, so what I've done is I've created a video because I could not stream directly using my iPhone, so I have recorded a video where we're gonna look at the player itself, how it looks, all the functionalities that we're gonna explore. All right, so let's take a look at the demo. So this is what we're gonna be building this player, and as you can see, it has album, it has songs, and you can move fast forward, and basically if you leave your scrubber at the end, the next song is automatically picked up from the playlist, and then it's gonna basically play out, uh, and you can click next or previous buttons to basically move forward or move backward in the playlist, and you can launch another playlist to launch another song, another list of songs. So similar functionality, next and previous button, scrubbers, and one more category. So we have three categories in this case, and we are gonna see how you can basically also adopt to the dark mode and light mode. And if you notice, if you notice right here, this view is sort of transparent, so it's actually using the visual blur effect. So this view controller is going to have a blur effect, which is going to reflect or let the background view uh, sort of be visible uh, in your app. So this is something else that we're going to be actually building out to create a to create this music player. So you're going to be learning how to actually get this effect in your apps as well. Okay, so yeah, so this is going to be the app that we're going to be building throughout this series. So hope you're excited, and let's go ahead and hop right into the Xcode, and we're going to start building it out. Right. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So what I've done is I've created a UI kit project, and there's nothing in the project, just the empty shell that is created when you create a UI kit project. So that's what we have. So let's go ahead and fix a few things first. So one thing I want to do is I want to remove the main interface from main.storyboard, and I want to delete this storyboard. So we're not going to be using storyboard. So just deleting this is not going to do, like, deleting these two places is not going to do. We have to actually delete it from info.plist as well. But before we move forward, I want to actually set the device orientation as well. We're only going to be supporting portrait device orientation. So let's leave it at portrait and uncheck remaining of these other ones. Okay, and I'm going to save here and go to info.plist. Now in info.plist, you're going to notice there's an application scene manifest. So expand that for the scene configuration, and as you keep on expanding, you will see that storyboard name appears right here. So you can actually simply remove this entry, and this is going to ensure that there is no storyboard that are being used to basically launch our app. Now what we're going to do next is we are going to go to scene delegate, and scene delegate is where our scene is initialized. So we are going to basically put our view controller, our launch point here. So our view controller, the view controller that we want to make as a home view controller is launched from here instead of, like, um, from the storyboard. And now there's no storyboard, so our app is going to crash because it's not going to be able to find main or any other entry point. So we need to provide that entry point. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to remove that underscore and replace it with Windows scene. Okay, and I'm going to initialize window now. So window, UI window, and there's one initializer that takes a scene. So we're going to say it's going to be window scene, and window dot root view controller, and basically we're going to be using UI navigation controller. So UI navigation controller with root view controller, and we're going to pass our view controller here, and we're going to say that make this as a key window and make it visible. Okay, so this is the view controller we should launch. So I'm going to just change the background to red to make sure, like, that this is the one that we are launching. So when we launch our view controller in the app, you're gonna notice that it's gonna have a red background. Okay, so let's wait for it to get ready. So it's still launching. Right. Okay, there we go. It took a little bit, but your view controller is basically launched. So we are actually now programmatically launching the view controller. That is great. All right, with that, we are ready. Our project is ready, basically, to build out all the other functionalities. So I guess first thing we need to do is we need to import some assets, and we need to go in the assets and add some colors and stuff. So what I'm going to do is, because we are actually going to be also supporting dark mode on the playlist screen, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to create some named colors. Okay, so I'm going to right click right here, and under assets, start exe asset, and I'm going to choose a color set, and I'm going to say title color. Okay, and I'm going to create another one. This is going to be subtitle color. Okay, and for the okay, so let's see, for subtitle and title color, we're gonna give them a color code. Okay, so for the subtitle, any appearance, so dark appearance, we want to have subtitle as white. For any appearance, we're gonna say we need to have a little bit of a darker shade. So I'm gonna open the color picker, and maybe we'll choose this one. Okay, because it's a subtitle, and for the title, we're gonna make its any appearance to be a little bit darker, so kind of like lead in color. Okay, All right, now let's import some assets. So I'm going to import 3 images for our album colors. All right, so we import and now rename these. So I'll name this one Jazz. You can pick any image you want. So slow motion is going to be cinematic. And there's going to be another one that's going to be acoustic. All right, so these 3 album covers that we're going to use. Now for the music, what we're going to do is we're going to use a website called bensound.com. And bensound.com provides free music, so you can actually download music from there. So here's the website that you can use. It's bensound.com, and you can basically get royalty-free music. So what I've done in this case, I've downloaded the music and included it in my project because our main purpose is to basically build out the music player, and the playlist is going to be static, but you can very well use a media that can be dynamically downloaded using S3 or Dropbox or something. So it could be like, another video course where we can see like how to connect with Dropbox to get your files downloaded, so you can actually use them within your project. But yeah, in this case we're going to be actually downloading, so go ahead and download your songs from here. I actually chose 3 categories from here. There's acoustic, cinematic, and jazz. So I just basically went into those 3 categories, and I use this download button, and this is from Bensound. So when you download, it actually shows that like free license you have to use with attribution, and there are some restrictions, so make sure you actually read those, or you can actually get purchase music for 34 euros or something like that. Yeah, okay, anyways, yeah, you can purchase the music if you want, if you don't want to provide the attribution. Okay, um, so with that, let's go ahead and include our music files. So let me go ahead and get the music files loaded. All right, so I'm going to basically drag and drop music files into my project, and once the music files are included, I'm going to create some virtual folders to basically move them into their own corresponding folders. So let's do that. So so let me create, or let's create a new group. I'll create a folder. Maybe this one is jazz. Okay, and jazz has all that. Jazz comedy. All right. So let me pause the recording and do this categorization. I'll be back in a minute. All right, so what I've done is basically I've taken all the music files and categorized them in different categories. Now remember, these folders, virtual or real folders, they're for your organization of your files. Whenever your bundle is created, for your bundle, for your app bundle, everything is a flat hierarchy. So all the files are like within your bundle at level where they can find all the files, so you don't have to worry about having folders and stuff like that and finding folders. All you need to do is, if you want to find a file, you just find the file within the bundle, and it's going to basically be able to locate where the file is. Okay, bundle should be able to do that. All right, with that said, I've got three different categories and three different playlists that we're going to be basically using to play our music. And next, we are going to basically now create our model files to represent these songs and albums. Okay. All right, so let's create our model for this. So I'm gonna create a new group, and we're gonna call this folder models, right? And in this, we're gonna create two files. So it's gonna be one file, Swift file. We're gonna choose, and we're gonna call this one song, and uh, import from foundation is fine. We're gonna create a struct called song. Okay, and we're gonna create some properties. So we're gonna need a name, image, artist. These are all the properties related to the song, and file name. Okay, so once again, name, image, artist, and file name. These are going to be song properties. We're going to need um, another model, and this one is going to be called album. Okay, and album is basically going to contain the song. So an album is going to comprise songs. So I'm going to create a struct, name of the album, image of the album, and songs. And this is going to be an array of song. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an extension on album, and going to create a static function get that will return an array of album. Okay, and this is simply going to return an array of albums. So I'm going to create album. So let me type the first one, and then the rest I'm going to basically copy paste, so you don't have to see me typing all these things. So the album name is going to be acoustic, and the image is going to be acoustic as well. So this is basically referencing this acoustic image right here. Okay, and for the list of the song, so let me create one song. So you're gonna have song with name, and the the song that I have downloaded, that one is called Acoustic Breeze. I'm going to use that, and this basically I'm going to use the same acoustic image, but you can have your an image for your song as well. So so you can include that. For the artist, I'm going to basically name it Ben Sound, or yeah, because that's where I got my songs from. So I'm just gonna use bensound.com as artist, and or bensound is good actually. And for the file name, it's gonna be the file name in the acoustic category, acoustic breeze, right here. So I'm gonna simply copy that and paste it right here. Okay. All right. So this is how you're gonna create your songs and albums. So you're gonna create another song with all the properties and stuff. So let me go ahead and basically um, copy paste the entire thing, so you don't have to see me type. Right. So I'm gonna actually populate this. There we go. So these are all the songs that we have, and there is no favorite. So let me put this for the model. So favorite is something that you can use as a challenge. Basically, what I included to test out if, like, model needs something like, where user can favorite their sound. um, so this can be a good challenge actually. If you're up for it, you can take this at the end of the project and extend your music player to allow your user to save songs as their favorite or mark their songs as favorite and save them somewhere. It could be like, it could be a file, or it could be a code data database or something that you can use to basically um, show which songs are users' favorite, right? And you can create an album called favorite and just play the songs from the favorite. So that can be like, a really good challenge for you to take. Okay. All right, so we've got all of our album items ready. So this is our album model. It's gonna have, like, all these album objects with different categories, and we're gonna basically use these categories to create our table view where we're gonna be listing out all the playlists and a number of songs inside that playlist. Okay, so our model creation is actually ready. So let's go ahead and start building out our view controller that is going to basically list out all these models and all these categories. Okay. All right, so let's go and go to our view controller, and this is where we're going to be building out our home screen, or the first screen, where we're going to list out all the albums that we have. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a variable um, album, or albums, album dot get. Okay, and now we're going to build out our table view to display this. So let's go ahead and create private lazy bar table view UI table view. Right, so we're going to make sure that auto resizing mask into constraint is false, so we can define um, our own auto layout guideline, and we're going to make sure that this view controller acts as a data source and delegate for this table view. We're also going to register a cell, and we're going to call this one. So let's register a UI table view cell for now. Okay, and we're going to come back and create our custom cell. So for the views identifier, I'm going to simply say it's a cell, and we are also going to give estimated row height. I'm going to give it 132, and for the row height, I'm going to say it's UI table view dot automatic dimension for it to automatically adjust for row to adjust automatically based on the content size. For the table footer view, we're gonna simply create an empty view, so extra lines at the bottom of the table view doesn't show up. The lines that does not have any content, they don't show up. So um, that's why we are actually gonna create a table footer view and assign it to an empty view. Okay, now let's go ahead and resolve these two issues. So I'm gonna create an extension here for the view controller, and this is going to extend the UI table view or conform to UI table view delegate and UI table view data source. Okay, and here for number of rows in section, we're going to return albums.count, and for cell for row at index path, we're going to simply create a cell, and we're going to dequeue reusable cell with identifier. Identifier is going to be cell, and it's going to be for the index path. Now we're going to return a cell. We're going to simply say cell dot text label dot text is equal to, but now we can actually just set it to albums index path dot row dot name. Okay, just to display something. And all right, so now our errors are gone. So let's go ahead and add some more, few more things. So first, set the title for the page. So basically, this title is going to show up in the navigation bar. So you're going to see my music player, and now we're going to create a setup view function where we're going to add our table view. So setup view, and we're simply going to say view.add subview, and this is going to be the table view. Okay, and basically let me put this there as well inside the setup view, and we are also going to call setup constraints function, which we have created. So let's go ahead and create that, and these two functions can be private. And actually this elements is also private. Okay. All right, so now we can actually set up our constraints. So table table view constraints. So say NS layout constraints dot activate table view dot leading anchor constraint is equal to view dot leading anchor. For trailing anchor, we're going to constrain it to view dot trailing anchor. So we're going to basically cover the entire screen with our table view. Constrain to view dot top anchor. Bottom. Okay. All right. With that, let's go ahead and launch this to see in the simulator. So we're going to be using simulator until we get to the point where we are actually playing the music, so we can see if the music is being played or not. And as you can see, our table view is ready, and it's actually displaying 3 of the categories that we have created, right? So 3 of the albums that we have. Okay. Next thing what we're going to do is we are going to create a table view cell to display our album cell. Okay, so basically our album cell is going to be a custom cell that we're going to create, and we're going to replace that with this UI table view cell. So our cell is looking a little bit like, better than just a line. So let me close this guy. So yeah, just line entry. So we're gonna have like an image and number of songs and the album title as well there. Okay, so next up is gonna be the table view cell. All right, so let's go ahead and create a new folder. I'm gonna create a new group for views, and we are going to basically create a new file right here, and we're gonna call this file a album table view cell. Okay. All right. We're gonna import from UIKit, and we're gonna create a final class album table view cell. This is going to inherit from UI table view cell. Now, reason I actually created from empty file, so you can actually learn instead of using template, you can learn to basically create your own overrideable properties. So you would actually remember more and learn more if you're actually creating everything by hand instead of using the Xcode support. So that's the theory behind, like, not selecting the template. If you, in case you're wondering which template I'm talking about, so if you go File, New, File, so you can choose Touch class, and you can actually here give basically your, for example, let's say W table cell, for example, and you can say UI table cell, like that. Okay, so you can create these two, and you have, as you can see, you have the opportunity to create a zip file if you want to create it. But, like, this is gonna create an empty shell, which is gonna have some default functions and stuff like that. But this way you would actually create a cleaner um, um, a cleaner object, because you're gonna cleaner type, because you're gonna know, like, what all you need to implement. Okay, so that's the reason, and you learn more by creating things by hand. Okay, so let's create an album property. So album, okay, and we're gonna put did set observer on this. So whenever this album object is set, we're gonna do some operation here. So we're gonna say if let album is equal to album. Okay, then we have, like, some things to do here, and we're gonna come back to this in a minute, but let's go ahead and create our controls. So we're gonna need an album color, not color, album cover, basically the image to show, album image to show. And then we're gonna need album name and song count. So cover is gonna be UI image view, album name is gonna be UI label, and song count is gonna be UI label. So these three controls we need. So let's go ahead and create that. So private lazy var album cover UI image view. I'm gonna set the content mode to scale aspect fill. We're gonna set clips to bound to true, and we also gonna set the corner radius to be 25 in this case, and we're gonna set specific corners, basically mask specific corners. So we're gonna say masked corners, and we want to mark layer, layer min y corner, min y corner, and layer max y corner. Sorry, max x and max y. So we're gonna mark layer min x min y corner. So that's actually, so let's imagine if this was your box, right? So this point right here is gonna be um, your min x and min y, right? And this corner right here is going to be max x and max y. So we just want to mask these two corners. So that's what we are actually saying here. And let me put an equal sign here. So this error is gone. And there we go. That's our album cover. And next, we're going to have album name. We're going to create a bold bold font for this album name, and for the text color, we're gonna say it's gonna be a UI color, and we're gonna use named color, and named color is gonna be the title color. So title color is the color that we created in XC assets, this guy right here. So that's what we are going to be using. Okay, so that's your album name, and then let's create songs count. You're gonna set number of lines to 0. So if you have more description instead of having songs count, you can actually have those. For the text color, we're gonna have once again UI color. So we're gonna use UI color named subtitle color, and we're gonna return the view. Okay, so these are all the controls that we need. All right. Next up, we're gonna basically create our init. So we're gonna use UI table view override the initializer, which takes style, and we use identifier, and we're gonna basically just leave this as fatal error because we're not going to be initializing from storyboard. So use a coder initializer when you're initializing from storyboard, so we're not going to be using those. First thing we can do is we should call super.init and pass the style and cell use ID. Okay, and then we're gonna set up our view. Okay, and we're gonna call set of constraints here. All right. So for setup view, what we're going to do is we need to add all these into content view. So we're going to use a simple technique. So we're going to take our album cover, album name, songs count, and we're going to put all of these in a for each loop. It's going to basically give us a view. So we can simply say v as for view, content view dot add subview view. Okay, so this is basically gonna add all of our views into the content view. Next, we're gonna lay out these views. So we're gonna set up some constraints. So album color cover first. Gonna create a album cover to have leading anchor to content views leading anchor with a constant space of 16. So there's going to be a gap of 16 points from leading side. Then you're gonna have album cover dot top. So just gonna say leading in top, and constraint equal to content view dot top anchor. And this is going to be 16 point as well. Now we want our album cover to be specific width and height. So we're gonna say album cover dot width anchor. So we're gonna constrain width to a constant, and I'm going to say this one is going to be 100. For the height, we're gonna say the same, equal to constant 100. And we're also gonna have a bottom anchor, and constraint is gonna be less than or equal to. So we're gonna use less than or equal to with constant. So we're gonna say content view dot bottom anchor less than equal to -16. Now this is basically going to help our table view to lay out the cell and adopt to those automatic height. So in this case, this UI dimension, the table UI dimension that we have actually defined, automatic dimension that we have defined right here, having all the constraints for leading, top, trailing, width, and height, bottom, it basically helps give our auto layout a clue that how big of a cell this is going to be. Okay, so this is actually these bottom properties, bottom top properties are important. Okay, next we're gonna add constraint for album name. So for the leading, we're gonna constrain it to the album covers trailing. So let's say album cover dot trailing anchor, and there's gonna be some breathing room. So we're gonna give 16 points of gap between those. For the top anchor, we're gonna constrain it to content view dot top anchor with constant 16. For the trailing anchor, we can use content views trailing anchor -16. Okay. Last but not the least, songs count. Right, so our song count is going to be on the next line. So its trailing is also going to be album covers trailing. Sorry, its leading is going to be album covers trailing anchor, and its top is going to be from the bottom of album name. So top anchor is going to be constrained to album name dot bottom anchor with 8 points of gap between. Then comes the trailing anchor, which is going to be constrained to your content view dot trailing, and we're going to do the same here. So so for the songs count, the bottom anchor is going to be constrained to less than equal to constant. So we're going to say it should be less than equal to content views dot bottom anchor -16. All right, so that is our entire album table view cell. Now let's go ahead and populate this. So whenever our album is set, we're going to actually populate all these properties. So all these functions and properties are actually created private, so this is the only entry point. So when user of this album cell is using this class, the only way it can set basically by setting this album property. Okay, so we're going to simply say album color cover image is equal to UI image, and get the named image album dot image album name text is going to be album name. Songs count text is going to be interpolated string, and put songs here as well. Okay, now once we have the cell created, we're gonna go back to our view controller, and we're gonna say let's use this instead of using UI table view cell. So let's go ahead and replace this with album table view cell. Okay, dot self. We're gonna keep the reuse identifier, but now if you build, you can actually encounter well, you're not going to encounter an error yet, okay, because our cell is still being cast or dequeued as your table view cell. So we want to make sure that in order to get access to the album, so if you say cell dot album, well, it doesn't exist because right now cell that's being dequeued is UI table view cell. Okay, even though you're saying that it's actually album table view cell, because album table view cell also inherits from UI table view cell, that means this line of code is perfectly fine and it's going to work okay. But in order to get access to the subclass properties, you want to cast this into a you want to cast this one into a cell called album table view cell. Okay, and we can put this in guard let, and if the cell being dequeued cannot be converted into or cannot be casted as album table view cell, then we're gonna say return UI table view cell, an empty cell in that case. Okay, now this basically gives us the opportunity to access. Now cell type, if you look at, is album table view cell. So now we get access to album property. Okay, and we can set that with the correct index path.row. Okay, so with that change, we should actually build and run, and there we go. We have our acoustic, cinematic, and jazz albums listed here with our images and our subtitle songs. Now, if you override the dark mode, you can see our music player adapts to that override, and your images or your text are actually using the color that we have defined for the dark mode. Okay, so that's one of the other things that I want to show. So I'm gonna leave this off for now, not override it. Okay, and there we go. So this is our home view, and we have actually finished our home view. So next we are going to first create a media player, and the media player is basically going to be the AV audio player, which we're going to use to build out our player layout first, and then we're going to create a music player view controller, which upon selection of an album, we can launch, so it can actually launch the media player and play that song. Okay, so that's gonna be all right. So let's go ahead and create our music player. So we're gonna create a new view, and this view is, once again, we're gonna be selecting Swift file, and we're gonna call this media player. Okay, and this is going to import UI kit, and it's also going to import AV kit. AV kit is basically for AV foundation, that you use AV foundation controls, AV audio player, and stuff like that. Okay, we're going to create a final class, media player. Okay, and this media player is going to have an album of type album, which is going to be provided during the initialization phase. So we are going to get rid of this error in a minute. So let's type out the controls first. So we're gonna have, like, various different things. So we're gonna, at the top, we're gonna have our album name, then you're gonna have album cover. Okay, so we're gonna call it album colors cover. So I'm gonna leave it at that. You can have, like, um, a song cover as well instead of using album cover. So you can have, like, song cover, and if your song has their own images, then you can display those. Then below album cover, you can have a progress bar. Then you can have previous, play, pause, next button, and then you can have, like, your time labels, elapsed time, remaining time. You're gonna display your song name, artist name. So all these controls we can actually create first. So let's go ahead and create those controls. So private lazy bar, album name, so this media player is always going to be like black in color, like the background is going to be dark in color. So we're not going to adapt to dark mode or light mode. So yeah, so that's why we are actually having a text color as dark gray. Right, so text alignment. Next, we're gonna create our album cover. So we're gonna use the same corner radius stuff. So we're gonna set the corner radius to be 100 and layer dot masked bounds to be masked. So not masked bound, masked corners to be dot layer min x and min y corner, and dot layer max x and max y corner. All right, so that's our album cover. Next is the progress bar. So basically this is the progress bar. That's gonna be a slider. Is gonna be the scrubber that we're gonna use, which is gonna show the progress of song, and also it's gonna be a scrubber that you can scrub to move forward or backward in the song. So we're gonna create whenever the value is gonna change, we wanna actually observe that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a selector, and this selector is gonna be called progress scrub. So let's go ahead and create that function. So private func, and this is going to be at C type. And we're going to have the sender as UI slider. So we're going to simply say this is going to be progress scrubbed. Okay, and we're going to have value changed. And for the minimum tracker, minimum track tint color, we're going to use a named color. So we can say UI color named. Let's use subtitle color for this. Okay, and next we're going to create a previous button. So to go on the previous song. Right, so we're going to be using the SF symbol image names, so images or vector images from SF symbol. So for that, we're going to first create a config, right? UI image dot symbol configuration, okay, and going to give the point size. So point size is going to be 30 for previous button, and then we're gonna set the image. So we're gonna set the image. We're gonna get the image using system name, and the image that we're gonna use is gonna be called backward end dot fill. Okay, and we're gonna say we are going to get the image with configuration. So let's pass the config object that we created, and the state is going to be normal state. Okay, we are also going to add target to this, and this class is basically going to act as the target, and for the selector we are going to create an Objective-C function. So I'm going to copy this guy right here. I'm going to change some properties. So sender is going to be UI button, and this one is going to be called did tap previous. Okay, so we can use that did tap previous. Touch up inside is going to be the event that's going to be fired. Okay, basically when you touch up inside, that's when this target action is gonna be fired. Okay, and we're gonna also have the tint color as white. All right. Okay. So this is our previous button, and then we need a play and pause button. So this is going to be pretty much similar. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to create play pause button. Okay, and let's see. So this is going to be same. Point size is going to be 100. It's going to be a little bit bigger than previous and next buttons, and the symbol, that SF symbol that we're going to use, is going to be play.circle.fill. Configuration going to be passed, and we will create another selector for this. Did tap play pause. Let me use that. Did tap play pause. Touch up inside. Okay, and the tint color is going to be white. All right. So initially it's going to be the play circle button, and we're going to toggle between two icons. So we're gonna have, like, an icon for pause, an icon for play, and we're gonna be swapping those icons out on the fly when user taps on the button. So that logic is gonna go inside did tap, play, and pause. So we're gonna fill these functions in a minute. Okay. Next up is gonna be the next button. So I'm gonna once again copy the previous button, and I'm gonna simply say next button, and this is going to be a UI button, same, and instead of backward it's going to be forward and dot fill. Okay, and we go ahead and copy this, and this is right here, tab, next. Okay, so point size is still going to be 30. Okay, and the only thing that's going to change is going to be this set image, right? And this selector. Remaining everything is going to be same. Okay, so that's our next button. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use a stack view to basically stack these three controls: play, previous, play, pause, and next button. So let's go ahead and create a stack view. So control stack y stack view. We're going to use arranged views, and we're going to supply our previous button, play, pause button, and next button. This, we're going to return our view, and we're going to set the auto resizing mask to be false, and going to set the axis for this to be as horizontal, and we're going to give the distribution. The distribution is going to be equal spacing, and spacing between controls is going to be 20 points. Okay, so that's our control stack. Now, right below our progress bar, we're gonna also have elapsed time and remaining time labels. Okay, and so let's go ahead and create those two as well. So I think these buttons are going to be the last below the progress bar. We're gonna have two labels: elapsed time label, oops, let's see, I need to delete everything, UI label. Okay. Gonna give them system size as 14, and for weight we're gonna give them light, and for the text, initial text is gonna be 0000. Okay, I'm gonna return this view. Now I'm gonna copy this one, and for the remaining time we're gonna have the same remaining time label. It's going to be pretty much same. Okay, so that's another label, and below that, those two time labels, we're going to have song name label. So let me go ahead and paste that, and I'm going to actually say song label, song name, actually, yeah, song name label. Okay, and this is going to be a UI label with translate auto, okay, in dark gray, system size is going to be 16, and we're going to make this one bold. All right, we don't need any default text, and return the view. Okay. Right below the song name, we're going to have artist name. So artist label, I'm going to call this one, and it's going to be, the only difference is going to be, it's going to have a lightweight. Okay, so these are all the controls that we're going to need for the player. Now we're going to need the player itself, so we're going to create private var player, and this is going to be AV audio player. AV audio player. Okay, and we also gonna need a timer to basically check the song's progress, so we can update our progress view. So we're gonna create a timer. Okay, and we will also need one variable to keep the playing track index, so which song is being played right now. So we're gonna create that. All right, okay, so with these three created, now let's go ahead and create our initializer. Our initializer is going to take an album. Okay, and we're gonna assign self album to the album that's been passed during the initialization. We're also gonna call super.init with frame as 0, and we're gonna call our setup view. So setup view function. So let's go ahead and create a private function, setup view, which is going to call setup constraints. Okay. All right. Right after setting up our view, what we need is basically we also need to call our basically set up our labels like album names and album cover images and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and set those inside the setup view. Before that, let's resolve this error, and I'm going to leave it as fatal error and hold the code. Now we're going to say album name dot text is equal to album dot name. Okay, and album cover dot image is equal to UI image named album dot image. So okay, okay, so all right, why do you expect that? See, why is it system name? It's not system name, it's named. Let's go ahead and build this. Okay, UI image named. Okay. See where? Okay, for some reason was showing an error. Okay. Anyways, what we need to do right after setting these album information, we need to set up a player. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a function called setup player, and this setup player is going to set up the player for us, and it is going to also set up, like, all the information, like remaining the current progress and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and create our player, and this is where we can actually extract our mp3 files basically from the bundle. Okay, so I'm going to create a function right here, right? Func setup player. Okay, and the setup player takes a song because we're going to be calling this from other places too. And what this is going to do is this is going to have a guard statement to construct the URL, and URL is going to be the URL to our song, which we're going to get from bundle. So dot URL for resource with extension. So we can say it's going to be song dot file name with extension MP3. So all these files have extension MP3. That's what we're going to use. If we don't get that, then we're going to actually return here. Okay. So we can also going to say if the timer is nil, right, then we're going to set the timer. Dot scheduled time, and we want to take the overload that takes that gives us a target. So we're gonna take this one. We're gonna put a timer for 0.0001, and target is going to be self. The selector is going to be a selector that we're going to create. So selector that we're going to create, and some function is going to come here. User info is going to be nil, and repeat is going to be true. Okay, so this selector is going to be the update progress. So I'm going to create a private function, update progress. This is going to basically update the progress bar. Okay, so I'm going to simply say update progress. We actually forgot to add c in order to call this in the selector. So update progress like so. Okay, and basically this is where we're gonna monitor the progress of our song so we can update our progress bar, right? So we're gonna set that, and here we're gonna also say song name label dot text. Let's set that to song dot name, and artist label dot text to song dot artist. Okay. Next, we're gonna initialize our player. So we're gonna say do, and AV audio player is basically a player that is initialized for a resource at the URL. So for every song, we're gonna actually use the same variable, player variable, and gonna reinitialize it with a new URL that we have extracted for the bundle itself. So we're gonna simply say player is equal to try AV audio player contents of URL that we have extracted right here. Okay, and let's put a catch statement here. So we have caught the error, and we're gonna simply print error.localized description. Okay, we're gonna set ourselves as delegate for the player. So we're gonna use that delegate, and I'll show you how in a minute. And we're gonna say prepare to play. Okay, this actually prepares the audio, so it basically loads the file, all the details about the file. So it's basically setting up the player to play the audio. It does not play the audio yet. It actually just uses this to prepare to play. Okay, just be sure to call this basically, because this helps your AV audio player determine how long the song is, and various different properties about the song, about the media itself that you're trying to play. We're also gonna set AV audio session, and AV audio session has a shared instance, so it's a singleton, and we should set a category. So we have to set a category, and the category is going to be playback. Now reason is because if you try to if you don't define this, or if your phone is on silent mode, your media is not going to play. So playback is going to help you um, avoid that. Basically, if your phone is in silent, even then the music is going to play. Okay, so it's going to be playback type category. Okay, just ignore this error for a minute. We're going to come back to this one. Try AV audio session. One more thing, for the shared instance, we're going to set active to true. Okay, there's no option that we need to provide, so I'm simply going to remove those. All right, and then let's resolve this error. So I'm going to go towards the end of the file and going to create an extension on this media player called AV audio delegate, audio player delegate. Okay, and here we're going to create a function audio did finish playing. Now we need this one to play our next song. So what we're going to do is we're going to simply call did tap next, and we're just going to pass next button here. So basically this is as if the user has pressed the next button. So whenever the song would stop, would finish playing, then this is how it's gonna start playing the next song. Okay, so let's go back to our initialization, and so our initialization setup view control, and we're gonna set up our, we're gonna call our setup player with song. So song, we're gonna use the first song. So we know, like, we have just initialized our media player. That means user wants to play. We're gonna start playing from the first song. So we're gonna simply say album.songs, and playing index is gonna be at the 0th index. So it's gonna start from the beginning. Okay. All right. Next, basically what we're gonna do is so let's set up our constraints. So our constraints are going to be, so let's set up for album name. Okay, let me do this. So yeah, so let's set up these constraints. Yeah, yeah, first let's set these constraints. I thought, like, we can do something else, but yeah, let's do this one first. Okay, album name. So we're going to set to the leading anchor to the leading of the view itself. So leading anchor to the view. So album name is going to be at the leading of the view's leading anchor. Okay. And trailing is going to be similar. So I'm simply going to copy this. Trailing anchor. And for the top anchor, going to have top. And I'm going to use some constant here, about 16 points. Okay, so that's your album name. Next, album cover. Okay, so album cover is going to have trailing anchor, and trailing anchor is going to be to trailing anchor. And for the top anchor, we're going to have album name dot bottom anchor. So album cover is going to be constrained. Its album cover's top is going to be constrained to the bottom of album name with constant of 32 points, so gap of 32 points. Album covers height constraint we're gonna give to a constant, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna get the height from UI screen, and we're gonna say take the UI screen dot main dot bound dot height and take the 50% of that. So 50% of the height is gonna be the height of album cover. Okay. Next is gonna be song name. Leading anchor. So leading, trailing. It's gonna be trailing is gonna be -16. Top anchor is gonna be album cover dot bottom, and it's gonna be a gap of 16 points for the song name. Okay. Then comes artist label right below that. So let's set up constraints for the artist name. Constraint is going to be, so artist is going to be leading with constant 16, leading to the view. Let me go ahead and copy and paste these. Okay, so for the trailing anchor, it's going to be the trailing with -16, and the top anchor is going to be song names bottom. So right below song name label dot bottom is where we're going to show the artist label, and the gap is going to be 8 points. Okay. All right. So that's your artist label. Right below the artist label, we're going to have our progress bar. Okay. So our progress bar is going to have leading constraint equals to leading and 16 points. Trailing anchor. It's going to be trailing -16, and top anchor is going to be the bottom of artist label. So artist label dot bottom anchor. So we're going to constrain to that with a gap of 8 points. That's going to be our progress slider or progress bar, and then our elapsed time and remaining time. So here we are only going to have leading and trailing. Sorry, leading and top. So leading and top, because elapsed time is going to be the first label towards the leading side, and remaining time is going to be towards the trailing side of the view. So this one is going to have top anchor dot constraint equal to constant, and we're going to say progress bar dot bottom anchor and 8 points. Okay, I'm going to copy this because the remaining time is going to be similar. Remaining time and remaining time label. Okay, so remaining time label is going to be, so instead of leading, it's going to have trailing anchor. So we're going to anchor it from the trailing. So trailing anchor -16 as a constant. And for the top, it's going to be top anchor progress bars, bottom anchor with constant as 8. Okay, then it will come our control stack. So the stack view that we created for controls for our next previous play and next buttons, we can constrain that. So we're going to constrain 32 constant, basically 32 points of gap between the leading and the control stack itself. For the trailing anchor, we're going to have trailing and -32. And for the top anchor, we're going to constrain it to top with remaining. So remaining time label dot bottom anchor with 8 points of gap in between. Okay, so these are all of our constraints. Now there's one more thing I actually forgot about. The setup view is we need to add these views as a subview, right? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to set so album label, song label, all these labels, we're going to set them to white color actually. So I know we actually added like gray color here, but we can actually override it. So instead of using dark gray, we can use a white color label. So I'm going to just remove these guys from here just to avoid any confusion. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use that for each loop trick once again, and we're going to say album name, song name label, artist label, elapsed time label, and remaining time label. So all these labels, I'm going to put a for each for these labels, and we are simply going to say v dot text color is going to be make it just white color. Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing, we want to add all these controls to the view, right? So we're gonna simply say album name, album cover, song name, artist label, progress bar, elapsed time, remaining time, and control stack. I'm going to put a for each for these, and these are all going to be UI view types. So add subview as view. Okay, and then we're gonna set up our constraint. Okay, all right, so next up we can actually set up our play pause buttons, handle our logic to basically populate all these things like update progress, progress scrubbed, previous, next, play buttons. And all right, so first thing we're going to do is we are going to create a few more functions. So let's go ahead and go right here. We have setup view, so I'm going to collapse this. Setup constraints, I'm going to collapse this one. Okay, and setup player is also done, so we're going to collapse that. Okay, right here we're going to create some public methods to play and pause, play and stop basically our player, right? So we're going to create a function called play. Okay, this is going to let us play or start the player. Okay, and first thing we're going to do is we're going to set progress bar dot value to be 0. Okay, and we also want to set up the maximum value for the progress bar to the song's length, right? So we're going to say maximum value for the progress bar is going to be a float type. So player gives us a duration. This duration is actually determined at the time when prepare to play is called. Okay, so it actually prepare to play extracts all the information about the media and actually populates the player itself. So we can take advantage of duration to get the value, and we can set that as the maximum value of our progress bar. Okay, then we're gonna call our player.play. Okay, and we also gonna call a function which is going to set play and pause icons. So I'm gonna create a private function here, set play pause icon, and this set play pause icon is going to take a boolean is playing. Okay, and it's basically simply going to set the play pause buttons image. So we're going to create config, symbol config. Okay, our symbol configuration with point size as 100, play pause button dot set image, and we're going to create the UI image. We're going to say if this is going to be the system named image, if is playing, right, then we're going to say it's going to be pause dot circle dot fill. Okay, so if the music is playing, show the pause button. If it's not playing, if it's paused, then show play. Paused or stopped, otherwise basically just show play dot circle dot fill. Okay, for normal state, right? And we also want to supply the config. So with configuration config. Okay, all right. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this function set play pause button, and we're going to, for is playing, we want to supply player dot is playing. Since we just started playing with the play, is playing is going to tell us if the player is playing. We don't want to supply true or false, like here, because if in case player couldn't play that file, then it would actually sort of not play. The player is not going to be in the playing state. So we don't want to assume that it's going to be actually playing. So we want to actually rely on the API that AV Audio Player provides to set this state. Okay. Next, we're going to create a stop function, and this stop function is simply going to stop the player from playing. We're going to also invalidate our timer, and we're going to set our timer to nil. Okay, so these are basically the helper function that we're going to call from outside when we create this media player. Okay, all right, so let's set up our update progress next. So for update progress, we're going to simply say progress bar dot value is equal to float of player dot current time. So get the current time of the player, and that is going to be basically the value for progress bar. Now we also want to set our remaining time label and elapsed time label right here. So first let's create a variable remaining time. So we're gonna say player.duration minus player.current time. Okay, this is gonna give us remaining time, and we're gonna say remaining time label text. Now this time duration that's been given is it basically gives us a time interval. Okay, and we need to convert this time interval into our that format 00:00 to present, like, how many minutes and seconds and stuff like that, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to create a helper function right here. So we're going to say private func get formatted time. This takes a time interval. So we can say divide the time interval by 60 to get minutes, and seconds is going to be time interval. Truncate remainder, and we're gonna divide that by 60. Okay, and then we're gonna create time formatter, number formatter, and time formatter dot minimum integer. So minimum integer digits, we're gonna set it to 2. Time formatter dot minimum fraction digits to 0. Okay, time formatter dot rounding mode, we're gonna set it to down. Okay, so round towards 0, and then we're gonna construct our string. So we're gonna say guard let minutes string is time formatter dot string from ns number, value is going to be minutes. Okay, and we also gonna take second string and gonna say time formatter dot string ns number, value is going to be seconds that we have created, else return empty or 0, 0, like that. So we're gonna return minutes string colon second string, like that. Okay, so this is going to be our time formatter. So formatted time we're gonna get, right? So what this helps us basically is it helps us display that formatted time for remaining time and the elapsed time. So we're gonna simply say get formatted time for the time interval. So we're gonna say this is remaining time, and for the elapsed time label, we're gonna say get formatted time with the time interval player dot current time, like that. So if you want to compute this first, you can actually do it like this. Yeah, there you go. Okay, all right. Okay, so our update progress is set. Now if progress bar is scrubbed, basically user has moved the progress bar, we're gonna simply say player dot current time is equal to, this is going to be float 64 casting for sender dot value. So we're gonna assign that to player's current time. Okay, and for the previous button tab, right? So this is where we're gonna first say take the player playing index. So playing index, and we're gonna subtract 1 from the playing index. We're gonna say if the playing index goes below 0, right? So then if it's less than 0, then set the playing index to be album dot songs dot count -1. So loop it to the end. So if this is the first song and user pressed previous button, then go to the very last song in the playlist. So this is going to create the loop effect. Okay, and then we're going to call our setup player with a song. So album dot songs playing index. We're going to supply the playing index. We're going to also call play function, and we're going to set up our play pause. So set play pause player dot is playing. Okay, so that's going to be our did tap previous function. Now did tap play and pause is going to be simply checking if the current player is playing, then we're going to say player dot pause, and otherwise player dot play. And we're going to call set play pause player dot is playing here as well. Okay, so that is going to be the play pause button functionality. All right, next is did tap next button. So if user taps the next button, the next play button, so we're gonna say playing index plus equal 1 if playing index goes beyond or greater than or equal to album dot songs dot count, right? So if it's more than the more than the songs that are present in the album, so we are simply gonna say player index or playing index to be 0. Okay, so go to the first track, and we're gonna call our setup player, and so basically these 3 lines we're gonna call them. So setup player, play, and set the play and pause. Okay, so this is basically gonna set all of our controls and prepare them to play songs. Okay, so let's see if we have populated all of our functions. So it seems like we have everything. Yeah, the entire media player ready. Okay, cool. So next up, we are going to create our music player view controller. Okay, where we're gonna set up this media player. All right, so let's go ahead and create another view controller. So we're gonna simply create a new file, and we're gonna choose Swift file, and we are going to call this one music player view controller, like so. Okay, now music player view controller is where we're gonna set our view controller. So you're gonna simply import from UI kit, and we're gonna create a final class music player view controller from inheriting from UI view controller. Okay, and we're gonna get an album during the initialization. Okay, we're gonna also create private lazy bar or media player. And we're gonna supply the album that we have received. Gonna set the auto resizing constraints to false and return our view. Okay, now during the initialization we are gonna ask for album. Okay, and we're gonna say self.album is equal to album and super.init with new name nil, bundle as no. Okay, now it's gonna prompt us for required, so we're gonna just let it finish that. Okay, and now we're gonna call view did load, super.view did load function. Okay, and now view did load is here we're gonna first set up our blur view. So we're gonna create a private function, private func blur, add blur view. Okay, and we're gonna first check UI accessibility to make sure that reduced transparency is enabled. So if it's not enabled, then only we're gonna set this. So if reduced transparency, not reduce motion, reduce transparency enabled. If this is not true, then only we're gonna say self.view.background is equal to UI color.clear color, and then we're gonna create our blur effect, UI blur effect with style as dark, and then blur effect view is going to be Y visual effect view with effect as blur effect, and blur effect view dot frame is equal to self dot view dot bounce, and blur effect view dot, and we can set the auto resizing mask here for flexible width, flexible height, and flexible width. Okay, and then we're gonna simply say view dot add subview as blur effect view, like so. Okay, now if reduce transparency enable is enabled, then we can simply say view dot background color is equal to UI color dot black color. Okay, all right, we're gonna call this add blurred view here, and then we're gonna set a color setup view. Okay, so this is gonna be a private function setup view, right? And this is where we can add, so we dot add subview, and we're gonna call media player. Now one thing we can do actually, instead of calling this here, we're gonna call add blur right here. Okay, and I'm gonna move this function up. There we go. That's better. We are setting everything related to view here, and we are gonna call setup constraints, setup constraints right here. Okay, and we call create a private func setup constraints. Okay, and let's layout constraints media player dot leading anchor dot constraints equal to, so we can say view dot leading, and we don't need any constants. I'm going to copy and paste it a few more times for the trailing anchor top anchor, and bottom anchor. Excellent. Okay. Now on view did appear, what we're gonna do first, we're gonna call super dot view did appear animated. Okay, and we're gonna say media player dot play. Right, so we're gonna start playing here, and we're also gonna set. So this is what you're gonna keep. This is how you're gonna make your view like stop from dimming your phone. You're gonna simply say UI application dot shared application dot is idle timer disable is equal to true. Okay, and view did disappear. You're gonna call first view did disappear animated. Okay, and then you're first gonna stop the media player, and UI application dot share dot is idle time disable to false. Okay, all right, so we've called our setup view, setup constraints, and it looks like everything is ready. Now one more thing that we need to do is we need to go into our view controller, and we need to make sure whenever we select a cell, a table view cell, we launch our music player, right? So we're gonna say did select row at index path, and we're gonna get the view controller, music player view controller, and this takes the initializer that takes an album. So we're gonna say albums index path dot row, so get an album from there, and create the music player view controller, and we're gonna simply say first deselect, not delete, deselect row at index path animated true, and present our view controller animated true with completion as nil. Okay, now let's go ahead and launch our let's go ahead and build first, make sure everything builds, and we're gonna launch our media player. All right, so I chose my iPhone to build, and then let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so there we go. This is our media player, and this is actually running on my phone. So let me go ahead and tap, and there we go. We have our media player loading, and all of our next previous buttons are working fine. Like I said, because I'm recording, I cannot play the sound at the same time. So let's make sure play and pause buttons work okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to record the video on this working, and then I'm going to be right back to show you what I've got in the recording. All right, so here we go. We have the recording. So let me play this recording, and then I'm going to launch, and as you can see, the music is playing, scrubber is working, next button is working fine as well, and play and pause buttons are working okay. And I'm going to dismiss, launch another category, play the last song as first, so previous button is working fine. So yeah, so as you can see, and our visual effect is also looking okay. So all the things that we did, actually I just tested those on the device, and it is looking good. So yeah, so this is it. We have reached to the end of this video series, and hopefully you enjoyed building out this media player. And yeah, thanks again for watching and your continued support. Thank you.